I was 5 years old. It was the night before kindergarten, and I was scared to death to go to school. I had been home with my mom, and I did not want to go. So I snuck downstairs, and I got some of my mom's magic water, and I drank a bunch of it, as much as a 5-year-old can drink. And then I couldn't get back up the stairs. I threw up. I fell down. Little did she know, high school was going to be just like that.
Millie makes songs, hey, I made this one. Jerry builds bikes and they go real fast. They're mental defectives.
Welcome to the Mental Defectives podcast, a show where we interview interesting individuals with a focus on addiction and mental health. I'm your host, Milligram. That's Millie if you know me, Mr. Graham if you know me. Joined, as always, by the Humberto Ramos of Harleys, the gearhead with a heart of gold. It's Mr. Jerry with a G.
I'm glad to be here.
And today...
Now, hold on. You should hit that like and subscribe button if you dig what we do.
Mental Defectives Podcast on all your social media, because that's where we is, Mental Defectives Podcast. Because today we have a very special guest. She's a sober cancer survivor and one hell of a cook. She commands a veritable army of women in recovery whose only mission is to increase their ranks. Please welcome Gidget.
Hi.
Gidget, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. Good.
Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
I'm very honored. I am. I know it's like crazy ones on top of it, so
we want
I'm
the
honored.
craziest of the crazy.
That's me.
Gidget, where are you from?
I'm born and raised here in Columbus. I lived in Kentucky for a little while.
Oh, nice.
When my parents got divorced and my dad got remarried, and he took us off to Kentucky.
Okay.
My mom's a little mental defective herself, so she was in the hospital during the time that the custody stuff was all going on. She wasn't able to be there, so my dad automatically got us. So we moved down to Kentucky.
There you go.
And got 5 brothers and sisters on top of it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I went from 2,
Wow.
me and one other, and then we got 5 more, and it was
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Yeah.
What age was that when that happened?
I was about 8.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Gotcha.
That's young, yeah.
And I stayed there until 8th grade, 12, 11, 12.
Yeah.
And I had to get out of there. That
was a packed
that
house.
was not for me. It was a packed house,
Yeah.
and it was not, Kentucky was not for me.
Yeah,
I was a cheerleader when I was down there, and I really loved that. And I had great advisors, and I went to Greenup County camp every year, and that was great. But yeah, I just, it wasn't for me. I needed to get back to Columbus where all the action was.
Big
Heard
city.
that.
The big city.
And when was the first drink?
Actually, the first drink that I remember, my parents tell a story of a party that I went around and drank all their friends' drinks, but I don't remember that. My first drink that I remember, I was 5 years old. It was the night before kindergarten, and I was scared to death to go to school. I had been home with my mom, and I did not want to go. So I snuck downstairs, and I got some of my mom's magic water, and I drank a bunch of it, as much as a 5-year-old can drink. And then I couldn't get back up the stairs. I threw up. I fell down. Little did she know, high school was going to be just like that.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
And it was. It was a lot like that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so then when did like drinking start becoming like a part of your...
When I moved back to Columbus, because I was
Okay.
living with my mom, and she's self-medicated with alcohol and stuff. And so then I was allowed to drink at the house with her, or even if they weren't there or whatever. She would buy me coolers. Wine coolers were a big thing back then. She would buy me coolers and have them in the fridge all the time, just like my stepdad's beer. And so, yeah, it was insane.
Wow.
We were that house where the mom was really trashy, and there was Harleys everywhere in the front yard, and I was a little trashy, probably more than I think, and had the big giant 80s hair and all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Loved it. Went to Brookhaven, so it was really wild going from the backwoods of Kentucky to Brookhaven High School, which was, at that point, predominantly black. And I hadn't been around a lot of black people my whole
Sure.
life. And I was like, what the hell? But I ended up dating a black guy that was a drug dealer my sophomore year in high school. And we were business partners for the next I was 19. So the next like 5 years or so, after I met him, maybe 4, but yeah, we were business partners. We didn't work out as a couple, but he trusted me with a lot of stuff and things, and yeah.
How about that?
I thought I was big time, man.
Oh yeah.
I really did.
You said this was in high school? Okay.
Yeah, sophomore year, and then junior year, I went to a different school because my mom got cancer, and we had to move in with my grandma, and at my grandma's house was right around the corner from South High School, and I was like, I ain't going there. You got to be kidding me. And then we found out that I was being bused out to Independence. So that was kind of cool. That was a great school. I really liked that school. I wish I would have applied myself more, but I did not, except in English class. That was it. I found a grade card not too long ago in some of my mom's things because they've downsized, moved into a little apartment. Yeah. And I had failed gym. And my daughter seen it, and she was like, how the hell do you fail gym? And I'm like, I didn't go. It was right after lunch. I had things to do.
Absolutely.
I had things to do. I needed a longer lunch.
Yeah, so. No doubt.
Yeah, so.
And then how much are you like drinking around this time?
Every day, all the time. 2 liters of 2 liters of wine coolers. They had a cherry splash and a strawberry blush, and I drank both of those. It was Sun Country. They were green. I had this big, giant black leather bag that I put it in, and I had some tubing, like for a...
like one of those camel book bags?
No, it was a big leather black bag. It was like one of those.
Like a tube going from the bag to your...
Yes.
Like to siphon gas.
It was, yes. It was fish tubing. I had a friend that owned, his parents owned a fish store, and he just cut off a big piece, and I put it right down in there, and I was like, all gone. So yeah, at least a 2 liter a day.
Wow.
And then if I drank with my mom, there would be more. Some shots of Jack or some shots of peach schnapps. And so, yeah, it just depended on the day. But, yeah, I was a daily drinker by sophomore year in high school.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then with the boyfriend and going into business, what was that like?
That was busy, delivering and staying where I'm supposed to and being where I'm at. And, yeah, so, yeah, it was interesting.
And then where do we go from there, like if towards like the end of high school and stuff?
I moved back in with my mom. I got my own place with 2 other girls senior year because we were all 18 already. I did not graduate. I didn't walk with my friends. I got my GED like 4 months later. I did a little detour in jail for shoplifting.
Oops.
Right after graduation. I was getting stuff for my friend's graduation party to wear. But yeah, I went to jail for about 30 days, and then I got out, and I was like, I need to do something with my life. I can't be going in and out of jail. I do not jail well. I had blonde hair at the time, and my roots were about this long because I was there. They needed done before I went, and yeah, it was bad.
Gotta get the hair done before
Gotta
you
get the hair done.
The hair is everything, dude.
It was right after I got out. And so, yes, hair is everything. And so then, that stopped because I met my first husband when I was 19. I was living back with my mom. I was going to cosmetology school, and I was working in a bar at night. Okay. It was a 50s themed nightclub, and it was so fun. I got to wear a poodle skirt. We got to dance on the bars. Yeah. It was a blast. Yeah. It really was. It's probably still one of my favorite jobs. It's definitely in the top 3. So. Yeah. And then I met my first husband. And then about a year and a half later, we had our first daughter. 20 months later, we had our son. And then I lost a couple babies in between there. Mm-hmm. And I had my youngest 5 years after my son. So yeah, we did the whole marriage thing, and it was the most toxic, codependent, violent thing that I'd ever been in my life. And at first, I would have told you that I was a victim. I played victim all the time when I first came in the rooms. We were still together when I very first got sober. And I played victim, and I couldn't believe he wouldn't get sober with me. And how dare he bring drugs and alcohol into the house. And I relapsed a lot when I was with him. And I came to the conclusion one day that I just was never going to be able to stay sober as long as I was with him. He still drinks and parties like that today. And that, that scares me for my kids, because,
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting up there. He's 2 years older than I am, and I'm old enough. And it was very violent. Gahanna police officers knew me by name. My mom and stepdad now live in Gahanna, and I'm like, I need to slow down. They see my driver's license. I'm going to jail just because of my name. And she was like, was it really that bad? And I'm like, yes, Mom, it was really that bad. So, yeah, it was really that bad. And then in 98, his brother went to treatment. And then about 8 months later in 99, I went to treatment, and I paid attention a little bit, not a lot. But I did get a sponsor, and I got her in name only, whining about my husband. And, she'd be like, what's Gidget doing? And I'm like, Gidget's not doing anything. She goes, well, then maybe Gidget needs to go clean her bathroom, just to keep me busy.
Sure.
She also taught me that I shut my mouth, I put my hands in my pocket, and I was supposed to do something nice for him. Now, the first time I ever did that, I was ironing his work shirts, all pretty and pristine and all that. And he was like, what are you doing? What is wrong with you?
Right.
I'm like, don't worry about it. Just enjoy it. I'm doing something nice for you today. But yeah, things were really bad with us. We'd get into big fights, and he would tell me to leave his house because I was a stay-at-home mom. Everything was in his name, blah, blah, blah. And so I would leave. I would go to a friend of mine's or one of my sister's houses. Definitely my youngest sister's house. She was a stripper for a long time, and so there was always a party at her house.
Sure.
So I would go there, stay a couple days, and act like nothing happened, I was a stay-at-home mom. My kids didn't have a babysitter. They didn't go anywhere else. And I never once thought about how that affected them. I made an amends to my son one time, and he's like, I still don't trust you. And he was like 22, 23 years old at that time, He's like, I still don't trust you. I had Cindy B taught me to stay consistent. To be a good mother, you have to stay consistent. And so every week I would ask him to come with us. His sisters always came. I would ask him to come with us. He wouldn't come. I'd write him a letter and send a candy bar home. Not to bribe him. I can't compete with his dad's money. Not once, not ever. They had everything they ever wanted living at their dad's house. I had them more, but we didn't do any child support stuff, which was kind of cool because then I was able, when I finally got a decent job, I was able to learn how to pay my bills. I had never lived alone before. I got my first apartment when I was 38 years old. I was in a women's home group, and I got the apartment on a Wednesday. I went to home group on Friday night, and there was so much stuff there for me, for my apartment, like dishes and towels and sheets and blankets and pillows and just all the things that you need for a place that I definitely didn't have money to buy.
Right.
I had a TV and a bed, and I put the TV in the bedroom because the kids were only there 3 days a week, and if you want to watch TV, come curl up with Mom and cuddle. We definitely got another TV eventually later, because we got I forget what one it is, but one of the video games, and we had Guitar Hero.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a big thing for them.
Sure.
And I didn't mind when they got the Aerosmith one because I'm a huge Aerosmith fan. So that was pretty cool.
The Mental Defectives podcast is brought to you by Milligram's new EP, More is Always Better. 6 electrifying tracks available on all streaming platforms. Yeah.
But yeah, I found my higher power there.
Yeah.
I did. I found my higher power in that apartment, living alone. I didn't have cable, so who the hell else am I going to talk to? You know, I was like, let me try this for a second. My sponsor at the time, she was after me about, you know, having a relationship with the big guy. That's what I call him, the big guy. There was an old timer. Her name was Miss Barbara, and she used to call her higher power the big guy, and I stole that from her. And it's funny that I stole it from her, and then now she's passed on, and so the big guy still lives.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Love
the big
that.
guy still lives because I stole him from her.
Right. So when you were back with your first husband, and then you went into treatment while you were still with him.
Yes.
So what was the impetus of that? Why? What was pushing you to go to treatment at that point?
After he had seen the improvement in his brother, like his brother went the year before. After he'd seen the improvement in his brother, because I was always worse than him.
Right.
I was always worse than him, and I did have mental issues along with the alcoholism, you know. But when you put down cocaine and Patron, you're not acting like an insane person anymore, you know. So I got re-diagnosed with major depressive disorder about 6 years ago, but right before 2020. That and
great,
fantastic, great, thank you.
Right.
Drop a bomb on me. Now I got a hole up in my house.
And 2020 wasn't cool for me at all. I lost a lot of people, from Sarah J in October of 2019 all the way to a friend of mine named Brittany in 2022. And then my friend Sean Leffler got cancer and he passed away. It was just, it was a lot of people, you know. I used to have Monday nights with my girls because I used to sponsor a whole bunch of girls like my sponsor does. And we used to have Monday nights at my house, and it would be dinner and a big book study. We read the whole big book together. We would read a chapter a night. We'd discuss it a little bit. You could bring your kids. I didn't care as long as, you know, you didn't mind the dog.
Right.
You know?
Right. Right.
I remember Sarah brought her youngest over one time, and her youngest had this little Pooh Bear, and she had left the Pooh Bear. Well, my dog claimed
the dog
Pooh.
got it.
Yeah, my dog claimed the Pooh Bear. There was no more giving it back to her.
As that happens.
It does happen.
Claimed and destroyed.
Absolutely. There was fluff everywhere. She still loves that, to take a stuffed animal and put fluff everywhere.
So you only went to treatment the one time?
I went twice.
Okay.
To the same place. So I went the first time, and then I went 3 times. I went a second time. I went all 3 times to the same place. I went the second time, like, not too long after I had my youngest. Like, when I came in and got sober the first time, I found out I was pregnant with her. So we got along.
Oh, that's a fun way to find that out.
It was terrible. It was terrible. I was so mad, man.
Oh, God.
I was so mad because I wanted to leave him. You know, he wouldn't get sober.
Right.
And you can't get well, back then, I don't know about now. 25 years ago, you couldn't get a divorce if you were pregnant.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, you could not get a divorce.
Never heard
so
that.
Fucked up that I believe it 100%.
Oh, absolutely. In the state of Ohio, you cannot. You couldn't. I don't know about now.
Right.
But
you know,
still.
My last divorce, I didn't have any
crazy.
kids, so.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Damn.
It was, and it drove me nuts because I was
Yeah. Well,
I'm stuck here for 9
stuck.
more months.
Right.
You know, so I made the best of it. And the second time I got out of treatment, I got one of them Nazi sponsors, and she told me what to do, who to do it with, when to do it, blah blah blah.
Right.
Be at this meeting, that meeting, this meeting, that meeting. They were all babysitting meetings. I had 2 sobriety sisters that also had 3 kids, so that was always fun. There was 9 kids at the very least for the babysitter to watch. There was 9, and they were all our bad kids. They were terrible. You know, they hadn't had sober parents before, so they were bad. My 2 are still a little bit off the chain. So carrying on their mom's legacy, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then what was that time like in early sobriety, like getting out of like the treatment for the third and final time? Like you touched on like getting the apartment and the people at the meeting getting the stuff for you. Like what was that? Walk us through that like first like 3-6 months to a year or so.
The first 3 months was pretty cool. I lived at my sister's house, who is today my very best friend. We fell out for a minute after I lived with her. 2 women in one house, and 5 kids, and it's a 2-bedroom apartment or 3-bedroom apartment. The boys bunked together, the older 2 bunked together, and then the baby, my baby, she slept with me and my sister. Or I slept on the couch with the baby, or the baby was in a pack and play and I was on the couch. It just depended on the day. But yeah, she, the youngest one saved my life. And she's done it more than once, you know. I was touching briefly on people that I've lost. In 2023, in May, I lost my baby sister, the stripper. And then in August, I lost my oldest daughter to medical negligence from her nurse. And the board of MRDD ruled it negligence already. So we are suing the nurse and MRDD and everybody in the world.
Name as many people on that.
Exactly. Her dad's got the money to do it, so that's what we're doing. I have always said, just give the money to the kids. They have to live longer without her than we do, you know. But
that's a very selfless parent thing.
It is.
To do. I'm sure. Okay, I'm going to take the bulk of the money. Here's 20 for you, 20 for you.
That might be her stepmom, but that's not me.
Yeah.
Sorry. You should probably take that off. We act like we're friends, so yeah. But yeah, so that was 2023, and it was terrible. It's part of the reason why I don't do as many meetings as I used to. I didn't sponsor for about a year after that, and I have 3 right now, but 2 aren't working a program, and 1 is. So you know, the other 2 call when their asses are on fire, or they want advice on something stupid. You know, that they already know the answer to. They already know what I'm going to say. Did you pray about it?
Right.
You know, that's always my answer. Did you pray about that?
I used to have a sponsor like that. Every time I would call and I would just think like my world is ending. Like, did you pray about it?
Right.
Motherfucker.
It was the truth, though.
Yeah.
It's what you got to do. You know, and then, so yeah, I got those 3 right now. I was thrown into the mix today in our home group chat about sponsoring some girls that are in a recovery house, and I'm like, no, I have enough. My mental health is not good enough to be sponsoring more than what I have right now. You know, I'm sad that those 2 are doing the things that they do, you know, occasionally, but I'm also I'm glad that they're not fully wanting to work a program. Does that make sense? I want them to be. But
you don't have the mental capacity to handle all that.
I don't.
Right.
Not all 3 of them. All 3 of them.
Yeah.
So none of them call all on the same day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
It's such like a balancing act though, because it's like you only have so much to give, and then you've got to replenish, you know, your own cup before you fill other people's.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I mean, I've had friends before that, you know, they sponsor 6, 7, 8 guys at a time.
And I used to be that person.
I
used to be that person. Everyone that came on Monday nights, except for one person, when I did the Big Book study, I sponsored them all.
Yeah.
5 of them are gone now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I lost them between 2019 and 2021.
Damn.
Yeah. 1 to an overdose. 1 to kidney and liver failure from drinking herself to death. The other one, another one, crashed her car while she was drunk. and passed away.
Yeah.
And then I had, I guess 3 of them overdosed. I had another one that he was in the House of Hope, and he needed a female sponsor. And so I was his sponsor, and we all loved him so much. And yeah, he got his first big, remember when they were giving us all that money?
The stimulus check.
The stimulus check.
Oh,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
better days.
Yeah, right.
Much better day.
Yeah.
Free money.
Yeah.
So he was in the House of Hope and he got his free money. And then the next day his income tax return hit.
Oh.
And then the next day his unemployment hit. You know, like
Oh, so he
was rolling.
he
in
was
it.
good.
Oh, yeah.
He was good.
Yeah.
And
Then
he
he
was
wasn't.
gone. Yeah, and then he was gone. So he left House of Hope, of course. After that
Yeah.
income tax return, he left, and everybody was like, "No, don't." I did get to lead one Sunday morning at Maryhaven right before he went to the House of Hope. So I did get to see him. I did get
Yeah.
to kiss his face. I did get to tell him that I loved him, you know, and don't forget to call me when you get to the House of Hope and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that was good. I didn't hear from him once he got to the House of Hope. He wasn't there very long because all that money started rolling
Right.
in. I
Right.
mean, it was a lot for just us trying to stay sober to have all that money, you know?
Yeah.
$300 would be enough to get someone to leave treatment early on.
Absolutely.
You talk
Sometimes
3,000.
less.
Right,
dude.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take $20.
Yeah,
Right.
I was gonna say you got $100. You could you could
Yeah.
make some damage.
You give me $20
Yeah.
and a pack of cigarettes.
Shit.
I'm out.
Absolutely.
Gone.
Absolutely. It is
Yeah.
on.
Right.
Done. But yeah, today is cool. I did have, I'll back up a little bit. I did have the big wedding, and it was at the barn in Westerville, and it was absolutely beautiful. It still to this day is one of the best days of my life. I still say that because I don't regret marrying him. I regret maybe not pushing him more. He decided he wanted to be drunk more than he wanted to be married because that was always the agreement. If you relapse, I'm done. If I relapse, you're done. You know, I'm not going through anybody's relapse. So I left, and I waited a whole year before I filed for a divorce to wait on that phone call. I'd prayed every day that he would call me and just say, I want to go to treatment. You know, will you take me to treatment? Will you be there for me while I go to treatment? And it never happened. He later on, a couple years ago, he's been dabbling. Can't decide if he wants to be sober or not. Doesn't like running into me on occasions because I'm with somebody now. You know, that's kind of hard for him. But I mean, I'm not here to make him comfortable. I'm here to stay sober, you know?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
what I'm doing shouldn't matter whether you stay sober or not.
Right.
We're not together anymore. And we won't get back together ever.
Right.
He had that whole dry drunk thing going on and real rageful. And, you know, he grabbed my daughter one day and shook the shit out of her and threw her on the bed. I jumped on his back and started punching him in the head. Violence is still in me hard. It really is. And he couldn't believe it that I did that. That's my baby. What the hell?
Yeah.
Right.
Of course. You know? I mean, that's my baby.
Right.
No. You're
I mean,
done.
on your part, like, you stuck to your commitment because it was like, if you drink, I'm gone.
Right.
Then you're gone. But then to your credit, you wait a whole year.
Right.
A lot
Whole
of
year.
people are not going to do that.
Well,
Like,
I started dating somebody about 8 months in. 8 months into that
Yeah.
year. But he knew.
But you didn't file
Right.
for divorce yet.
Right, I did not.
You were
I did not.
just kind of hanging back.
And he kind of knew.
Yeah.
I think he knew in the
Sure.
back of his mind that if that phone call came, I was going to go.
Sure.
You know? Him and I were together for 6 years. That didn't really go anywhere. I was sad about that one. Because he's a great guy. We split up mostly because he was taking care of his mom who had Alzheimer's. And he just didn't have time for me. He couldn't give me what I deserved. You know, and so we're still friends today. Like, he came to my daughter's funeral because he was a part of her life for so long. And his son came with him because he was part of her life, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, when I run into him at a meeting, it's hug and kiss on the cheek and all that stuff. And it's not a big deal, you know? We're still very friendly. I adore him. I love his mom. She has no clue who the hell I am anymore. But I still adore her.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Good.
What's some other challenges and just things you've done like in sobriety? Because it seems like there's been a hell of a lot.
There's been a lot of loss. There's been a lot of grief.
How has that been to like maintain, like face like this kind of loss and grief of, you know, sponsees, family members? Like, I mean, losing a child, like I can't.
Oh my God.
Even imagine. I think losing my dog, I would be.
Right. Yeah. When I lose my dog, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm just dead serious. I've had her for 14 years.
Oh, yeah.
She's been there for every single child moving out of the house, even my stepdaughter when she left. You know, she's been there for my second divorce. She was there moving into my own apartment again, you know, after leaving my beautiful condo in Strawberry Farms up in Westerville. You know, it was like, ugh. So there was just a lot of dreams that got screwed up when he decided to drink.
Yeah.
You know, we were going to get a bike. We were going to do this. We were going to travel. We were going to, and no.
Yeah.
You know. Some other difficulties have been, my kids all have, like, you know, diagnoses. And at each different time, one of them has been suicidal more than once. So that has been really hard. Taking them and dropping them off at the mental hospital, Dublin Springs, you know, that kind of stuff. That's been really hard. That was really hard. Especially when I had to do it to the baby. You know, she's just, like I said, she's definitely saved my life more than once. The night that her sister died, instead of taking herself home, she followed me home because she was worried I was going to drink.
Wow.
And she stayed with me until I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Because she was worried I was going to drink. The very next morning, at that point, I did have a sponsee that was real active in my life, and she's still one of my very best friends. She just needed more structure and a different kind of sponsorship.
Sure.
She didn't need a best friend to sponsor her. She needed a sponsor to sponsor her.
Yeah.
And I get that. I
Absolutely.
do. A lot of people need that, you know. My sponsor is one of my best friends, you know, and, you know, it's my sobriety family is fucking amazing people, you know. So I got it good, you know, in a sense. I have people that are there for me. You know, when all my friends were dying, I felt like I was so alone and like I didn't have any friends, and I wanted to call one to talk to the other about the other one dying, and, you know, and neither one of them were there. They had been with me for 18 and 13 years of my life, you know. That was hard. I always say when the girls died, because it was two very important friends, you know. So but the mental health stuff with my kids, my own mental health stuff has been really hard.
Yeah, what was that like diagnosis like? Was that something like you got that diagnosis in sobriety and you're like, oh, a lot of stuff now makes sense? Or was it like, holy shit, what do you mean I have this and alcoholism? Like, what was that reaction?
I wanted to be crazy. I didn't want to be an alcoholic. I wanted to be crazy.
Right,
I had seen crazy be managed, you know, like my mom going to the hospital, my mom getting on meds, my mom going to therapy all the time. I was ready to be crazy, you know. I wanted to be crazy. And I discussed that at the bar when my therapist told me that I was an alcoholic and that I couldn't see her no more if I didn't go to a meeting. So I went straight to the bar and discussed this with all my friends, and they
surely an alcoholic
would never do that. Total sense.
Ever,
total sense.
Ever.
Never go from a therapist office to a bar.
Right.
Never.
Right.
I've never heard of that before. So yeah, that was a big thing. It happened right as 2020 started. I had just started seeing a new psychiatrist and a new therapist, and that was the new diagnosis. That and ADHD, which is funny because they're almost the exact opposite of each other.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But my ADHD isn't that bad. I'm unmedicated for it, and I handle it okay-ish, you know. I just see my laundry pile and I started to say okay, and I was like, no, Gidget, don't
throw
lie.
an ish in there to
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Be honest, kids.
There you go. The Mental Defectives podcast is brought to you by Ride Sober, an online community for sober bikers.
At RideXSober on social media and RideXSober.com.
Check them out today for apparel like t-shirts, hoodies, hats, riding gloves, and garage banners.
Ride sober, boldly sober.
Boldly sober. Guess what made you go into the therapy and the psychiatrist? Like I'm always interested in...
I was going to kill myself.
Oh, okay.
I was going to kill myself. And my first husband said, get the hell out of my house and go get help. So I called my mom, who was doing therapy and doing all this, and she called the psychiatrist's office, and they got me in like 3 days later with a different therapist than hers, obviously, but still.
Yeah.
We started doing like the eye thing, the rapid eye movement with the red light. I forget what that's called, but I think it's just rapid eye movement. But we started doing that.
Yeah.
They said that I was bipolar, which I was not bipolar. Like I said, you take away cocaine and Patron. People don't act like that no more.
Yeah,
Right.
And then, later when I got the diagnosis of major depressive disorder, I thought it was just grief. So I started grief counseling and therapy and all that. So since the end of 2020, all the way until probably about 6 months ago, I have been in therapy. Whether it was over the phone or in person. I definitely went to in person after my daughter died. That makes perfect sense, watching my kids deal with their sister's death has probably been the hardest thing for me to deal with. Watching them hurt so bad, especially my son.
Yeah.
Because they were only 20 months apart. They were super close. Even though she had a MRDD diagnosis, she was very high functioning. Like, she lived alone. She had a job. She just needed transportation. She was not allowed to drive.
Sure.
Nobody wanted that. She could barely walk sometimes. She would always fall down. She was the most funniest kid ever. So, yeah. But watching them grieve their sister kills me. Because I just want to take all that pain away from them, know? I don't want them to have more pain. But everybody's got to grieve their own way and get through things, I wouldn't say I'm over it. It's only been 18 months, I'm better. I'm better. And I'm slowly getting better every day. There are days when I feel her with me and it's amazing. And then probably about a month ago, I was going through stuff with my parents. And that they had given me, downsizing. Gidget gets everything because she doesn't have enough junk in her house. And so I had some photo albums. And for whatever reason, there was a picture that she had drawn. And there's these crazy butterflies. They're like they're shaped like bees.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to get them tattooed on me somewhere.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes.
Hell
yeah.
Yes. That
That's
kind of
great.
looks like a color.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
that's awesome.
That's going to be my tattoo for her. Because I haven't gotten a memorial tattoo for her yet.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my tattoo. And then, I think after I do that, I might be kind of on the other side. Tattoos.
It'll help.
Yeah, it will help.
It'll help.
They are so healing.
They are.
They are so healing. I don't understand why everybody doesn't have one. I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. I'm not covered or anything. I don't
Right.
have that many, but I have enough. And they're good. They all mean something. So
Sure.
that's kind of how I tat. So
Yeah. What about some like successes, some notable successes since then?
since getting sober?
Yeah.
I helped start the 1-800 number that Parkside had for a long time.
Yeah.
I helped walk through how we were going to take care of the Medicare clients on that line.
Yeah.
And be able to get them in.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite in admissions, but I still like took all the info down and took it into Ann, and yeah.
Did you work there?
Oh yeah, I worked there 3 different times.
You and I have probably crossed paths when I was going in and out of there.
I think
just
we
gonna ask
probably
you.
have.
Yeah,
I think
we probably have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God! No, I'm sure.
So yeah, that was
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And then also I did a lot of marketing with them.
Great, yeah.
With Walt.
Okay.
Walt A.
Okay.
Walt Baby Love, as
Yeah.
I call him. We did a lot of marketing. I learned a lot from Bryce J. Also when he was there, and so that was fun. I loved working at Parkside when I worked there. You know, every single time.
Yeah.
It was so fun. And then it wasn't.
Right.
You know, then it
Right.
wasn't. You know,
Right.
it was like Chauncey left and everything went to hell.
Yeah.
And that sucked because when I went back the last time, he wasn't there anymore. Like I did my interview with him, and he's like, "Hell yeah, I want you back." And then 2 weeks later, when I start, he ain't there no more. I'm like,
Yeah. Well.
dude,
Yeah.
what's up with that?
Yeah. Right.
And then, so I bounced back and forth between leasing apartments and the recovery field for a long time. I didn't really do anything noteworthy with the apartments. I established really good relationships with a lot of the residents. I lived on site at a different one that we owned, which I also ran that office on Saturdays sometimes when we needed to.
Yeah.
First of the month, get
Sure.
the rent, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff. But after 2020, I went back to retail and I realized I am way too old to be standing on my feet all day. I am just way too old. The rheumatoid arthritis was kicking my ass every day.
Sure.
It hurt. And so then I started working at True Rest Float Spa. And
Oh.
yes, that's where I work now.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And that is how I got through my daughter's death.
No shit.
Was from floating.
Yeah.
It would take those urges away from me to be destructive to myself. Whichever way it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like eat a whole fucking cake.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Whatever. Yeah.
Because I mean, that's such an easy thing. Like, that's got to be the best excuse in the world to do whatever the heck.
Whatever the hell I
No one's
want.
going to blame, like,
Nope.
oh, you lost a child and she started drinking again. Oh, you lost a
Like,
child
that makes
and
sense.
you're eating
Right.
birthday cake for dinner every night. Or,
Yeah.
You know, we're like,
Right.
oh, yeah. I
All
mean,
she's eating is ghetto quesadillas, which is two tortillas with cheese in it, and you put it in the microwave.
Oh yeah. I still do that.
I do too. It's one of my
I
favorites.
still do that. So you got into floating before you started working there, I assume, right?
No.
No. Okay.
I had read up about it. I thought that it was amazing stuff. I really wanted to try it one day. And then there was an ad on Facebook that they needed people.
Yeah.
And I was like,
so you had never done it?
never had done it.
Really?
I went to my interview. And then that's the first thing you do after your interview is you go float.
No shit.
No shit.
Okay.
They got to make sure that you like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you like
Yeah.
it enough that you can sell it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's
Right.
It's sales driven. It's
Sure.
not totally sales driven though. You know, like we want people to come in and
Yeah.
experience the relaxation and the total brain melt, and
Floating is fucking wild.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it
cool. Have
you
so
done it?
much.
Oh yeah.
so explain it to us. Like the
So
floating.
there is a 7.5-foot long pod. It looks like an egg laying on
Yeah.
its side. Okay. And it's 7.5 feet long, 6.5 feet wide. Music plays inside. There's different colored lights that you can turn on if you want. A lot of my sad or angry or fighting with the big guy after my daughter and my sister died, months apart. Because I just really didn't agree with his ideas at the moment,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So we argued a lot
Yeah.
when I floated.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand it, you know. But I have come to the conclusion I'm not supposed to understand it. And maybe my sister died so that she could be there when my daughter got there. Because they were real close.
Yeah.
They were real close. So, you know, I had a dream 2 nights after she passed away. And my 2 best friends, it was bright. Like, I don't know if it was sunny or where she was, or I have no idea. But I'm like seeing her from above, and she's walking down this line of all these people in her life that she had lost, grandparents, friends, and at the very end was her husband, because she had been married for 3 years and he had a brain aneurysm and he passed away. She was out with girlfriends. She came home drunk and jumped on his lap, drunk,
Oh, my
wanting to kiss him, and he's dead. She called me and she's like, I think Jason's dead. I lived in Hilliard at the time, and she lived over by the airport. I got there in 10 minutes.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I
yeah.
got there before her dad did, and her dad lived in Westerville.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I had a sponsor at the time that had buried people before, and walked me through it.
Yeah.
Proved that, you know, they didn't have any money, so please help us cremate this man. People from the program showed up. I had 2 people come and take the couch out of the apartment, and they threw it away. They were in the program, these 2 guys.
Yeah.
I had posted on Facebook, can somebody please come help me
Come
get a
get
couch?
this. Yeah.
Get this couch out of
Yeah.
my daughter's apartment before she has to go back in there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, of course, they showed up.
Yep.
They got it out.
Hey, Mental Defectives.
Would you like to advertise on our podcast?
If so, email us at mentaldefectivespodcast@gmail.com.
So we can help you make a lot of money.
A whole lot of money.
We had a service the night before we cremated him. My sponsor at that time was able to talk to them to just let us use a casket, and it all was free due to them being due to them both being developmentally delayed. There's the proper word for it now. I can remember now. Both of them being developmentally delayed. It showed that they didn't have a lot of income.
Right.
And so they were able to let us borrow a casket, let us use the room. All of his friends from Special Olympics showed up. It was a really cool night. It really was. You know, like, and her dad couldn't believe that all these people helped me get this together, you know.
'Cause you're talking like 5-10 grand
absolutely
on the house.
On
like,
the house.
A service like that. That's wild. Yeah.
It was great. It was amazing. And, you know, I walked through that with giants, you know. The sponsor that I had at the time, she was like 38, 39 years. Unfortunately, she's battling cancer right now. So that's a touchy subject with me. You know, I've been to 1 funeral since my daughter died, and I sat in the back of the room. I didn't go up. I didn't know the guy.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be easier. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It was
It's
just
too
sucked.
fresh.
It was
too
way
much.
too fresh.
Yeah.
It was a year. It was about a year later, but it was still too fresh. You know. So I don't know. We this past year we have decided not to celebrate Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving. We have Kidsgiving the Sunday after.
Nice.
That's what we call it.
Okay.
And this year we did not focus on Christmas at all. Like we had a Temu Christmas because the baby's birthday is December 23rd. So we focused on her birthday. She was turning 25. We had a party at, you know, a well-known establishment, pool hall up in Westerville. And we know the owners. My first husband went to high school with them. So like he's watched my kids grow up, you know?
Yeah.
And so he let us have the party there and bring in our own food. And my son, who is a chef, helped me prepare the food. And it was a great night. It really was. Yeah.
Good.
Doing things for my kids makes me feel better about their grief. my son is turning 30 on Sunday, and he's like, I don't even want to celebrate it. I'm like, that you
Too
are.
bad.
Too bad. Too bad. I'm making you lasagna and a Reese cup cheesecake and a big salad with all the gardenia in it, and we're crazy bread, and we're going to have a great day. I'm going to bring you balloons that say happy fucking birthday, too.
And you know what? Every time I see you, I feel like you bring that energy. Every time I see you always got this smile like, hey, you're going to be okay. You're going to be happy.
Yep.
You always make me feel that way. And I appreciate that about you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
I have always tried to give that energy away, no matter what I'm doing, whether it was leasing apartments or where it was, working in the recovery field. I worked for almost a year. I worked for this place. I don't even know if they're open now, but it was a halfway house for men getting out of prison or like CBCF or Alvis or just getting out of jail.
Right.
That was a wild job. And then we also had people that just came, they heard about the place and they'd been everywhere else in town and they hadn't been there yet. So they came there. One was a friend. It was kind of funny because he had lived at one of the apartment complexes that I worked at too. I helped him get an apartment there. And then I had to evict him because he relapsed. And then I had to evict him from the halfway house because he relapsed.
Oh, right.
And so I'm like, I'm never doing anything with you and where you live ever again because this hurts way too bad.
Sure.
I hate doing this to you. So, and then his girlfriend got involved. And why did he get in trouble? I'm like, I ain't telling you. I can't tell you.
Right.
Right. There's a thing. It's called HIPAA.
Right. That's a thing.
That's a thing. And I ain't losing my job just to tell you.
Right. Right.
He can tell you.
Ask him.
He would not.
So the floating thing, are you in is it salt water?
Yes.
And did they close the pod?
I'm sorry. I
It's okay.
totally skipped
No,
over.
you're good.
You're good.
We've had a couple, like when Brian was on, going through the cold plunge stuff with us, there's something about going in a big body of water.
Yes, yes.
Beneficial.
It has 10.5 inches of water in it.
Okay.
That's 94.3 degrees. So it's body temperature.
Body temperature.
Okay.
And there's 1,000 pounds of salt in it. You automatically float. I don't care how big you are, you're gonna float. You're gonna float.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it's also sterile because of all that salt.
Oh, sure.
And then we have a UV light, and then there's 2 filters. It runs for half an hour between each client. Once a week, we super duper clean the insides of them with peroxide and stuff, and do the showers and make sure everything's really clean. My boss is really big on that.
But the lid is closed?
You can leave it open if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can leave it open. It makes the light sensor light stay on a little bit longer if you leave it open. But some people want that.
Yeah.
I think it's too cold with the lid open. But I also go dark and no noise either sometimes. So
Yeah, that's a cool experience.
it is a cool experience. Yeah.
It's bigger in there than you think.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would like that.
Are you claustrophobic?
Not really, but I don't know.
Oh,
just
dude, you would
dig it.
You would dig it.
Do you like to meditate?
Can I meditate? Sure. Do I enjoy it?
Not really. Yeah. Yeah, I've been meditating for a long time. I just picked a mantra and I just repeat it sometimes until I feel energized and ready to go. And it is basically take no shit but do no harm.
That's good shit.
That's a good fucking
Perfect.
tattoo right there. Yeah. That's a good fucking tattoo right there.
That is not mine per se. That is my friend Sue L, who lives in Alabama. She used to live here. We used to be roommates. It was one of the funnest times of my sobriety. That was early sobriety. I ran around with her. She rides a bike.
Yeah.
And I'd ride on the back with her.
Fun.
People would be staring at us, and I'd grab her boobs.
Good times.
Really good times.
It's just like you and Chris,
Me
right?
and Chris, yeah. That's how we got started.
You played with his boobs?
I think they Turns, I'm not sure.
Anyway.
Okay, so we've got the
Float
the
thing.
float things, and then what else is life like for you today?
Relaxed.
I like that.
It's peaceful.
Perfect.
It is. It's peaceful and it's relaxed. I live with my boyfriend. He is somebody that I dated in early sobriety. But I had a stalker at the time that faked his death. And so it was just a little bit too much for him to handle. And I understand that. We parted ways as friends. I'm not that girl that you break up with and you hate. I'm just not. I mean, a couple people do. But
Sure.
you know.
If you're not the villain in somebody's story somewhere, you're doing it wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm the villain in a couple stories. The stalker says that I'm a
Right.
villain, you know. But yeah, so we dated like 15 years ago, and we became friends on Facebook when Facebook came out. I mean, I've been sober since 2006, so
Okay.
that's a long time. And so there was no internet at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my
Yeah.
first year and a half, there was no internet yet.
Yeah.
And then it was dial up. And,
Sure.
you know, and then the real stuff came, and then we had Facebook, and that's when I started making friends. And him and I stayed friends through the years. You know, we congratulated each other when both of us got remarried and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And he was doing some side dishes really heavy when he lived in Pennsylvania, and he was married, and got in a little trouble, little domestic stuff, and he decided that he was going to leave Pennsylvania, and he ended up driving all the way to Torrance, California. First he went to Venice Beach, and then he was like, that's not where I can stay sober. You can't stay sober at Venice
Yeah.
Beach.
That ain't gonna happen.
Not the place for it.
So we moved on down the road a little bit to
Yeah.
Torrance, and then it was January when I first went out there. So we started talking around Thanksgiving, right before Christmas, just catching up, that kind of thing. And he was like, why don't you come out here? I'm like, I ain't got no money. Come out there. What's wrong with you? And he's like, well, obviously, if I'm inviting you, I will,
Yeah.
provide. And I was like, okay, when?
Right.
I've never been to Cali. I'm
Yeah,
on my
let's
way,
go.
baby. And when I first went out there, we had flirted and that kind of thing, but whatever, you
Yeah.
know, it's me. And so I didn't know for sure if I was just going out as a friendly face, for some encouragement, whatever.
You picking up that plane ticket, it's a little bit more than some encouragement.
It was.
Yeah,
The
it
first
was.
night.
Yeah.
It was. And it was great. And it's still great. But he is real laid back and quiet. Like, we are total opposites.
That's why you work.
It is why I work.
No, that's why you two work.
Oh.
Because you guys are polar opposite.
We really are. We really are. Except for the ADHD.
Ah.
We bounce off of each other sometimes. He paces a lot, which is cute. I make fun of him. The dog walks back and forth with him too, because the dog can't leave his sight. The dog has such separation anxiety when Logan leaves. It's insane. You've met Logan, right?
I have. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's just this real laid back, cool guy. And he said, probably 6 months into our relationship, he goes, all I want is peace in my life. That's it. And that's really all he's brought, And I was in Cali when my sister got into her car accident that killed her. She was alive for 4 days, the whole 4 days that I was there. I didn't stay long. Maybe it was 5 days. But the day that she died, he just kind of picked me up, threw me in the truck. We went to the beach so that I could scream and yell and be at the beach, because it's the beach.
Right.
It makes you happy sometimes. It didn't that day. But, and then he took me to a meeting. And then we went out to dinner with the people from the meeting, And I'm grateful that he did that. you know, he didn't know what else to do with me, you know. And then when my daughter died, it was when we buried her, well, had her memorial service. It was 3 days before his birthday, and I was supposed to go out there, and he ended up coming here. So, and then after that, that's when he was like, I think I'm going to move back to Columbus. And I was like, oh, okay. Are you moving in with me? And he's like, yeah, sure. I don't think at first he thought it was maybe an option or not, you know, with the 2 dogs. And I love living alone. I really do. I never thought I can sit in a room with complete quiet for hours now. It's insane. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
There was a time where the TV had to be on, music had to be on, had to have this, had to have that, couldn't be alone. You know, I had to have a person around all the time. And I just laugh at that little girl, you know. She was so funny. She was so scared of every little thing, you know. And that's basically what all that comes down to, you know.
Sure.
Fear and ego, you know. That's it. Fear and ego. That's what causes addiction, along with some childhood trauma or whatever. But
Sprinkle that in there.
childhood trauma.
Brownie thinks you got a treat for her.
Right.
Sorry, Brownie.
She's fine. Gidget, what advice would you have for people dealing with loss and grief?
Go to therapy. Get in therapy. Get in therapy. And after you do about 6 months of therapy, give me a call and I'll throw you in a pod.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay.
It is. It really is. We had a different owner. We had a different owner than what we have now. The place has been bought by much better people. I love them to death. But when I called my boss to tell him that I wasn't going to be at work for a while because of my daughter dying, he said, well, you have keys to both places. I don't care if it's 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, midnight, whenever. If you need to go float, please go float. And I did. Nice. There was a few times I was waiting for Easton Security to roll up because I was in there screaming and yelling and having a little fit. Me and Big Guy were arguing hard.
Sure.
But, you know, it's so freeing for me. And for me to be able to give that to other people. You know, I have women that come in that have fibromyalgia, that have rheumatoid arthritis, just like me, you know, or they're just older, you know, they're 50 plus like I am and got bad joints or stuff. And to watch them get out of the pod afterwards and the swelling is gone, the joints feel better, they can move better. You know, I had a little old lady one day, she got out of her pod and she started dancing. I was like, what are you doing? She goes, I don't know, but I can do this now. And it was adorable. And she's a twice a month floater now. You know, she comes twice a month. So it's amazing. That's all I can say about it. It definitely helped a lot. With wanting to drink, you know, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I didn't want to have a drink after my daughter died. Right. Are you crazy? Of course I did. Right. Of course I did. But for like a week, somebody was up my ass every time I turned around, you know, like at 8 o'clock in the morning the next day, my sponsee was there banging on the door, you know, because Betsy had called her. Because, of course, I called my sponsor. Right. Betsy had called her and told her, I don't know if you're working tomorrow, but, you know, Brooke died and, you know, Gidget needs you. Yeah. She was there at 8 o'clock a.m. Boom, boom, boom. I thought, oh, God, what now? Is it the police? You know, I was like freaking out. Right. Do I need to give a statement? What's going on? Right. It was her. I'm like, why are you banging like the popo?
Yeah. What's going on? What's going on?
Don't scare me to death.
Cop knock on me.
Exactly. No cop knocking.
So what advice would you have for somebody who is like freshly sober, getting sober, somebody early on?
Just stay. Just stay. Don't give up. Yeah, it sucks at first. Yeah. You couldn't pay me enough money to relapse, to start all over again. I don't know that I would make it back, first off.
Sure.
You know, there's some things out there that I haven't done.
Yeah.
And they sound interesting sometimes. You know?
Yeah.
I don't
I
want
get
to
that.
die.
Right.
So, but I'm probably never going to touch them, even if I would relapse, you know?
Right.
But yeah, meth sounds fun to me sometimes. When people tell me stories about meth, I think it's very entertaining. And
We've heard some great stories about meth on this show. Not one time. I was like, damn, I want to try that too. I want to stay for 3 weeks straight and peek out my blinds and like have a tinfoil hat.
Well, my thing is I would lose weight. I would definitely get my house clean. I would.
Well, you'd be chasing shadow people around.
Oh yeah, it would not be
Couple
fun.
teeth.
Oh yeah, and I love my
Right.
teeth. I never have braces, never nothing. I love these things.
But no, that's solid. That's
Yeah,
solid.
I mean, yeah. So, but yeah, it sounds interesting sometimes, you know.
Right.
Someone will be telling a really funny story about it, and I'm just like, wow, really?
Yeah.
I loved powder cocaine. I loved
sure.
powder cocaine.
Yeah.
It helped me drink more. I thought that I was bulletproof because I always thought that I was a badass. Always. No. No. My husband just never hit me back.
Shit.
He just called the police. He just called the police. Come
Yeah.
get her, you know?
Right.
He never
Right.
hit me back. And I know that, you know? I mean, grab me, throw me down, that kind of stuff, defend himself, that, I mean, of course.
Yeah.
You have a drunken, crazy woman trying to kill you.
Yeah.
You're gonna defend yourself. But yeah, he would just call the police. Like I said, Gahanna police knew me by name.
Right.
I don't want to run into him anytime soon.
Don't give them a reason to.
And it's like, right, it's 20 years. I haven't lived there for 20 years, and
Yeah.
I still feel like somebody, like an older cop, would know who I was.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Hopefully they're behind a desk now and they're
I
not.
hope so.
Right, right.
They're
I
not
hope
the person who's
so.
going to get you for like a speeding
I
ticket or
hope
like
so.
rolling a stop sign or
Well,
something.
I
Right.
have a friend whose son works for them now, for
Okay.
Gahanna Police Department.
Uh-huh.
So I'd be like, I know somebody who can.
Right.
He has no clue who I am.
Right.
But I'm friends with his mom.
Very good.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Well, Gidget, thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely.
Such an incredible story.
Yeah.
Last thing before we get out of here, you were telling me before we cut the cameras on that Boston Terriers were the most docile, well-behaved dogs you'd ever seen. What did you mean by that? It's the Mental Defectives podcast. It's Milligram Jerry with a G. Gidget is here. Brownie is here as well. We'll see you
Yes.
next time. Peace.
Bye.